if you imagine like a Venn diagram with 3 circles on them, right? One of which is kind of people getting together, people doing stuff for charities, and then kind of add in virtual reality. Can we do something where we bring the people together in VR to help a charity? That was really the idea behind this. And then when I was thinking about that, I was remembering that actually in the real world, if you replace VR with, golf course or location-based entertainment, golf tournaments is a very popular thing for people to do. We said, hey, let's take this Pro Putt app that everyone seems to be having a very good time in the golf side of things. Let's get people together. Let's do it for charity. But the part that we found was that due to the fact that Pro Putt is limited to only really having 2 people at a time together, that community element, that I was talking about wasn't really there. So that's why we decided we really needed to have a kind of like an awards show. And the thing that we really wanted to do was to bring people together in a way that only VR could do. This shared experience was something that people could talk about and remember as a real thing because of the way people remember things. Then you start getting into the whole problem of, hey, how do you put together a theater production awards show, right? Especially if you're going to do it in VR. I was very familiar with the Engage platform, which I think has a lot of great capabilities for the delivery of like 3D effects and communal experiences and stuff like that. And one thing led to another, and that's when I met Inga and the team over at Tavori, and we did a bit of a demo. And what the light bulb that came on to me was that this was the perfect tool for putting together an idea using sort of a storyboard methodology, but you had a couple of other benefits, right? One of which is you were there in real time, so you weren't like drawing something and then going to a completely different medium to do it again and all that stuff. So quite honestly, it was really very fortunate for us that Tavori were there at the right place at the right time. And we were able to quite honestly put on, I think, probably a stunning virtual reality experience with a live interactive show and all of that, with 3 camera setups and all of this stuff. And we did it in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. So one of the other things that was fascinating and essential was that the team that we had building this whole thing, nobody lived within 1,000 miles of anybody. Now, that sounds fun, but when you're doing something like a show, that's a problem. Because there's a lot of things where we could jump from table to table to get a perspective on, let's say, a special effect. We had one where we have a dinosaur. It's kind of like, it's a play on Fred Flintstone. So old Fred Flintstone, the very first golfer, is here and he hits a ball and it's really a rock, and it goes along. If you've ever seen the cartoon, it's in the beginning sequence that goes along the dinosaur and it comes to the head, and then the dinosaur's head comes over and drops the ball back. And it's a fun thing. But the problem was it looked great, except if you were sitting in that table, or that table, then you actually, because of the way the graphics worked, the dinosaur disappeared half the time, or because the dinosaur's hollow, and so that you would become inside in the head of the thing, and all of a sudden it would disappear and go away. So anyway, the thing is that we had to pull together, first of all, multiple people to get the perspectives on that, to talk about what are we going to do about it. And the only way that we could do that was we literally called a 30-minute meeting called the Dinosaur Meeting, had everybody log in. We all came in here. We ran the animation. We made people go sit in the different seats to see this problem, and it was an amazing thing of the ability to bring people together, to see a problem in the real world, if you will, from a multifaceted, complex problem, get everybody to work together, make agreements, fix it, come back, and then, and just basically say, right, we got it, move on. So I think that is a real work case for what they're doing. But two other additional items that I think are going to be very interesting for that whole area is, number one, helping people put virtual reality presentations together. Because at the moment, it's either this kind of like TED Talk Part 2.0, where you sit in the audience and do nothing but look at me, my avatar, and some PowerPoints behind me. Or let's say there's a three-dimensional model and the platform itself is pretty static. Like, let's say we had a car here in the middle and we walked around it, but there's not a lot of like that orchestration and animation like we do in, let's say, PowerPoint. If you have a VR experience where people's heads are just standing still, they're going to ask, why did I put the headset on? But if you have something where you need to do this quite a bit to pay attention to what's going on and to talk to people and to see things and all of that, which means, maybe you need titles flying in, you need models materializing, a lot of these kind of like animation languages. And so where I see is that like the Tavori process is just amazing, and it's kind of really becoming almost, that three-dimensional PowerPoint metaphor, if you will. One more, a case that I think is super important, is this integration between the virtual world and the real world, is to prepare in virtual reality real world events. So everybody prepares and practices and simulates in VR in a dispersed, at a distance way. And then when it's time to get together, we can be much more effective and faster, which means cheaper, quite honestly, at the end of the day. This is invaluable stuff. And so that was a great learning for us on how this stuff's going to work and where it's going to go for people.